My name is Annik Magerholm-Fet. I'm a professor in sustainability and environmental management. I'm the vice rector at NTNU in Ålesund. And Ålesund is a city located on the west coast of Norway. It is surrounded with fjords and mountains, and I love to climb the mountain peaks and also to sail in the fjords. We are now on the level 3, organizational change and improvements. And in our model, CapSEM model, we see we are at this level, and we look into the different tools for improvement. There we focus on the environmental management system. That's one of the environmental management standards in the ISO 14000 family, and it builds on the model on continual improvement, plan, do, check, act. The second one on environmental performance evaluation, there we need to understand how to use environmental performance indicators and key performance indicators. And the final part is on environmental and sustainability reporting, where we follow the Global Reporting Initiative and also look into the Sustainable Development Goals. In the ISO 14000 family of environmental management standards, ISO, it stands for International Organization for Standardization, and that sets up the requirements on environmental management standards. Example, in the ISO 14000 family are standards for environmental management systems, for environmental labels and declarations, for environmental performance evaluation, life cycle assessment, and carbon footprints of products. The ISO 14001 standard focuses on how the organization should develop, implement, and maintain its environmental management system. And an environmental management system, that is defined as a system to help an organization to avoid, reduce, or control the environmental impacts of its activities, products, and services. It should achieve compliance with applicable legal requirements and with other requirements to which the organization subscribe, and then assist to continually improve the environmental performance. There are different key issues in an environmental management system. This is from the 2004 version. It has on the top an environmental policy, then it is planning, implementation and operation, checking and corrective actions, and management review. This is the typical plan, do, check, act model. And this is the same in the 2015 version. We see the plan, do, check, act, and it has a stronger focus on leadership, and it should also build on the special aspects for the organization. And it's also important that we look into the expectations from the stakeholders, and we have an overview of the internal and the external aspects. When we start with the plan, do, check, act model, the first stage is the plan stage. And in this stage, the environmental policy should be established. Then the stakeholders should be identified, the needs and requirements. And then considering the environmental aspects and their impacts. In addition, to understand the laws and regulations, and then how to decide what type of objectives that should be established to get the wanted improvement. And the objectives and the targets should be in consistency with the policy, and it should also include a commitment to pollution prevention. Now we have an example from environmental management at the company Sibelco Nordic, and this is the plant at the location Åheim in the west coast of Norway. And this is an example that shows the material flow from raw material extraction. It's an open mine up in the forest, and then it is transported down to the facilities at the fjord site, and then there is a ship coming in and taking the material out to the customers. But they started to identify their environmental aspects here in the open mine, and the aspects here are the use of explosive, it's the use of trucks, it's the use of fuel, and there is a lot of noise, sand, dust, fallouts in the river that goes here, and then the stones that are taken out here. They are transported on a conveyor belt down to the production site at the seaside. Along with this, there are many environmental aspects. So what they have done is to set up an overview of these aspects, and that concerns the use of natural resources. It's about pollution to air, water, soil, and the impact on the environment. And it's also, they are also looking at the effect of human health due to the condition of the environment. And when we have looking at the different aspects, there will be an impact both on human health. There is emissions to the fauna, the flora, water and soil, and it is caused by the production, the products and the services. Some of these aspects will have a local impact, some will have a regional impact, and some will have a global impact. And it's important to understand how to organize this when you set up the list of the most significant environmental impacts. And this is just to show what is an environmental aspect and what's an impact. The aspect, that's the elements of the activities, products or services that can interact with the environment. The impact is how this make a change to the environment. So this is the aspect and the impact. And if we look into the examples where we have emissions to air, this can be emissions of carbon dioxide, and carbon dioxide can have an impact on climate change. So here we see the transition from aspect to impact. The do stage of an EMS, that has focused on the implementation of measures for improving environmental performance based on the identified aspects and impacts. And this requires that we have good procedures in place. It should be enough resources and competence for the implementation, and it's very important to define the roles and the responsibilities. In the check stage, then we focus on the monitoring, verification and auditing. We ask the question, are objectives being met? What kind of records do we need to check? What kind of evaluation do we need to do against the compliance? And how can we organize the environmental auditing and check any other conformance in this stage? The act stage, that is where the top management shall review the organization's environmental management system at the planned intervals and also to ensure its commitment to sustainability and effectiveness. The act stage involves setting up a framework for actions that will eliminate the causes of the non-conformities. So now we have come all the way through the Plan, Do, Check, Act, and this is just to summarize a model of an environmental management system. As we mentioned, we started with environmental policy, then we did an initial review where we identified the aspects and the impacts. Then we set objectives and targets for improvements, and all this has to be done with a defined environmental management program, where we also need to use procedures for how to identify the aspects. We need training, we need operation, we need emergency, etc., etc. So the next one is to evaluate how the environmental performance is. And this is the process to facilitate management decisions regarding organizations' environmental performance. And again, we need indicators, we need to collect and analyze data, we need to assess the information against the environmental performance criteria, and at the end we also report and communicate it and see how this can be used for improving the system. There are different types of indicators. We talk about the environmental performance indicators. They can be set on different levels. And we can talk about the management of the organization, measured by the management performance indicators. We have the operational performance indicators, where inputs and outputs of the system is used to communicate the status of the operation. And for the reporting purpose, we then use key performance indicators, and these are indicators that the company select as the most important in their own communication. We can also report on the other sustainability issues. We have talked about the environmental issues, but when we talk about the sustainability issues, we also should include social and economic aspects. Very often when we talk about sustainability reporting, it's reporting on the triple bottom line, the social, environmental and economic aspects. And in these sustainable development goals, there are different requirements to communication. And if you go into number 12, responsible consumption and production, there is the target under 12.6, and then this encourages the companies also to practice the integrated sustainability information into their reporting cycle. There is an international initiative called the Global Reporting Initiative, and they recommend 5 steps in the process to start reporting. It should start with preparation, then connect, define, monitor, and report. And through these steps, we should use the information that we have on the impacts. We should identify the key stakeholders, talk to them. We should use the stakeholder engagement to communicate and to come up with a set of good indicators, and use this to both check the processes, monitor the activities, record data, and then use this to write the report and communicate this by means of the performance indicators. What's the benefits of reporting? It enables organizations to measure, manage, and communicate their performance. It provides information to stakeholders and improve a relationship with the stakeholders. It's a benchmarking tool where performance comparisons can be conducted internally and externally, and it contributes to building trust. We are now at the end of this presentation. We have looked into environmental management system, environmental performance evaluation, and environmental reporting. And now we will turn to the example shown by Fiskerstrand Shipyard.
It's impossible to be indifferent to one of our time's biggest challenges, which is the climate changes we are experiencing. Our focus has been on sustainable solutions for many years. We believe strongly in UN's Sustainable Development Goals and want to do our part to achieve them.
Each year since 2004, we have made an environmental reporting where we report the progress on waste, energy consumption, and emissions to air and sea. In addition, we inform our employees on the performances. We have also developed a set of key performance indicators that are used in our annual report. Because of the stronger requirements, both via regulations but also from our customer, we need to understand better environmental impact throughout the entire life cycle of our products, both upstream and downstream. Our technologies have to be first class with low emissions. We have delivered many ships running on LNG, as well as biodiesel and batteries in different hybrid solutions. We are now leading a project funded by the Norwegian government, piloting a real ferry driven by batteries, fuel cells using hydrogen. This project will be finished in 2020 as the first in the world.
My experience with working in organizations that have in place a certified environmental management system is that it gives you quite a few benefits. First, it gives you awareness of your environmental footprint when working with the system. It provides management commitment, especially by giving directions and expectations to the organization in regards to environmental management. It ensures involvement of workforce in developing the EMS, which is very important to ensure ownership later in the process. And EMS also gives you a systematic approach to environmental management and incentives for continual improvement.
This was the brief overview of the 3 first methods on level 3, and you will learn more about this in part 2 of this presentation.